And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100%. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
All right, everyone, I got a question for the man, the real punk, Josh Thompson. What do you get when you actually take my real age, 58 and 58? That is show number 116, Josh. We are live again, and do we have some stuff to talk about? I have a YouTuber who's going to face an MMA guy that was known for his stand-up. Cannot wait to talk about it because his stand-up is deadly, and we're going to go all through it. What's up, my man?
I'm so glad you figured out that math problem because there was no way I was figuring that out that quick. I'm glad you had it sorted out, buddy.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, let's jump right into this. Ben Askren, Jake. Was it Jake? Yeah, Jake Paul. Look, I know
Jake somebody.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about it, but about that. But here's the thing. You know, I'm tipping my hat to Ben. Ben, he's taking the fight. He knows what it is. I think, and I like Ben. I like Ben as a person. I've trained with Ben before. I think he's a phenomenal fighter. This is not MMA though. This is boxing. Ben's never been known for his stand-up. It's so funny. I've seen some stuff going around of him like landing right hands on a couple people, and I'm like, it's only one shot, and you got
it's all based on someone being afraid that he's taking them down.
Yeah, the other thing as well is that you're not hitting. You're hitting with 4-ounce gloves, and you couldn't drop them, and now you're going to hit with what 8s and 10s, probably 10s. Yeah, 10-ounce gloves.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the same, and so it's going to be worse.
God, thank you. And, you know, I want to put this out here as plain as I can. I think Ben Askren was a phenomenal MMA fighter. Yes. A lot of people did not like his style. I looked at him as a guy that, you know what? He is brutally good at what he did. Mm-hmm. His wrestling was so good. You knew exactly what he was going to go for. You knew the things he was going to do. And basically, throughout his career, no one could stop it. They knew, and they couldn't do anything about it. It was very Khabib-like if you're looking at the efficiency of what he did with his wrestling. Now, he never had the power of Khabib in his ground and pound. Khabib did different things as far as how he maintained position and all that. But Ben Askren as an MMA fighter was fantastic. He was I want to say 18-0 when he retired with ONE FC, and then he got the trade and he goes to the UFC and he has the fight with Robbie Lawler. I don't think it should have been a victory. It was more of a no contest for both of them. Robbie did a lot of damage to him. Ben got the choke, but it really wasn't on the way some people thought it was. He got beat badly, by Masvidal in 5 seconds. That can happen to anybody. Flying knee, you're out. That's it. He ends up losing by submission to Maia. And you look and you go, he's had a phenomenal career, but everything that he did in that cage, Josh, you and I both know, was based upon a grappling background and a grappling ability that made people hesitate in trying to do something offensive to him because they didn't want to put themselves in a bad position. That helps make his stand-up even better. Now that he doesn't have that, you can go back and you can watch Ben working out with a lot of people. You can watch him hitting pads. This is not a guy that is a boxer. He's not. He just doesn't. He has no hand speed. He's a great, athlete as far as what he has accomplished. But he is not a great athlete as far as what God has given him. He has made something out of what God gave him beyond what you would have expected. And I know, you can say Jake Paul is a YouTuber and all that stuff. There's one thing that I can say for Ben in taking this, and I do think it was smart for him to take it, because he's going to make a fucking shitload of money off of this fight. Probably more than he made in a lot of his fights put together in the cage. But it's not a good matchup for him.
But here's the thing, though. Is he really going to make good money?
Absolutely.
See, I look at it in a couple ways. I like Ben, and I said that earlier. I like Ben. Ben's not a stand-up guy. It does not favor him at all. It does not favor. And me saying he's not a stand-up guy, I'm taking it like I'm putting it nicely. He's never been.
Josh, you were an outstanding MMA fighter. I'm not saying that because we're on a podcast. You knew the way I felt about the way you fought before, but you weren't a stand-up guy either.
No.
You were a multi-talented mixed martial artist that used all the elements that allowed what you did to be even better because it was backed by something else, and it always kept people confused and off balance, and that led to what you did being successful. He doesn't have even that.
Yeah. Your
stand-up throughout your career was light years ahead of Ben Askren's. Yeah. And you're not considered a striker.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that, but I'm going back to the money. The money situation to me is how many people are really going to buy the pay-per-view? I know the Jake Paul crowd will buy it to see it, but the MMA crowd, I don't think they're interested. I don't think they really care because not a lot of them knew Ben until he got to the UFC, and he didn't have a good career in the UFC.
No.
So that being said, all they've seen is him get knocked out. So when they turn on the cable box and they go pay-per-view for $30, $29.99 or $49.99, whatever it is, they're gonna go, nah, hard pass. And I don't think that the number is gonna be what people think it's gonna be. It was different when he fought the basketball player Nate Robinson. He's tall, long, lanky. He's got a name. He's played in the NBA for years.
He's not tall.
I mean, but he was still tall. Not tall. Is still 6'1".
Yeah, he's 6'1".
Yeah, I mean that's still tall. That's tall. That's fucking taller than me. Anything taller than me is tall, man. So
dude, my grandson's taller than you.
Yeah. Whatever. Calm down.
He's 7.
Easy, buddy. Easy. Calm down. But that's kind of, you know what I mean? Like, I think you're not going to get the fans that people think they're going to get based on this fight being put together. And so, look, if you would have said Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz in there, it would have just blown up. Huge blown up. I mean, I'm trying to think of other guys that would potentially fight him that, were probably interested in fighting him. I mean, who else was there in that market? Do you know anyone, Dave? I don't follow the guys. I don't really know Dylan Dennis.
Oh, well, okay. Let's put this to bed real quick, because that was the number one person that Jake Paul wanted was Dylan Dennis.
Yeah.
And, and Ben Askren made some statements about that, how pathetic is Dylan Dennis that he won't fight a YouTuber. Dylan Dennis doesn't have the fucking option to fight a YouTuber. Yeah. He has a contract with a company that said, hey, if you want to do this both ways, then we'll talk about Dylan Dennis doing that. But if they weren't going to go both ways, Bellator was going to say, no, you're not going to do that. We're not going to let you just go box. He didn't even have a choice.
Yeah. I do know there was conversation about the fact that Bellator was interested in going ahead to let him fight. Like, hey, if you want to fight, but you're not just going to fight him in boxing, he's going to have to fight MMA. And so that was never an option. Jake Paul just put his tail between his legs and said, no, I don't want that option.
There you go.
Well,
baby.
let's just be honest. Like,
I love it.
You can't have this guy running around and spouting off about MMA fighters about how they won't fight him in his sport. Well, why don't you we'll do both ways. Why don't you come over here? They did it in Pride. They did it in Dream. Let's go, buddy. Come on.
And the best part, Josh, is the past will come back to haunt you when you say certain things, because I can recall a time when Jake Paul made the statement about boxing is not fighting, MMA is fighting. And so you look and you go, well, you're the one that said it. So either back it up or put your tail between your legs and just scurry on with your little poodle haircut.
Is this considered a really low point for boxing? Or is it rejuvenating it? Like, is it giving it something else to because boxing right now, to be honest, I mean, they just announced Ryan Garcia, Manny Pacquiao. I have no interest. I have no interest in watching it.
Oh, I do. I really do.
I like Manny. I'll watch it because I like Manny.
That fight. We're going to talk about that fight because Ryan Garcia is way better than he gets credit for.
Yes, he is.
Even to this day. And, he's a world champion. He doesn't get the credit that he deserves. He is a dynamite fighter.
Yeah, he is. No, I agree with you 100% that he's a dynamite fighter. I think he got lost in the translation because he became a YouTuber kind of now. He talks a lot of shit. He does the same thing that YouTubers do. And the fact that Golden Boy has taken Oscar De La Hoya has kind of taken that kind of road as well. People have kind of lost interest in Oscar De La Hoya. They've lost interest in Golden Boy promotion. They've lost interest in what's going on, the whole Canelo thing and the separation. And they've started now looking at that as like, it's not a reputable organization to fight for, another promotion to fight for. They've started leaving that behind them, and Ryan Garcia is attached to that promotion, and it's going to hurt him. I think it's going to hurt him in terms of value and names. Sure, they can stir the pot, but once he gets knocked out, he's the villain, the guy they're going to be like, yeah, I'm glad you lost. The reason why Mayweather was so successful, he never lost.
Absolutely.
People paid more. There was more people that paid to watch him lose than to watch him win. That's all they cared about. Think about that. He fought on Cinco de Mayo just so he could actually stir up the shit. You know, he knew what he was doing. He knew how good he was.
Hell yes.
These guys, Ryan Garcia is not Floyd Mayweather. Okay. And I don't even think he's as good as Oscar De La Hoya was when he was in his prime. So when you're talking like, can he fight when he fights Manny Pacquiao? I'm interested in watching because I want to watch Manny Pacquiao. I'm not interested in watching Ryan Garcia. I like Ryan Garcia. He's freaking phenomenal, but he's losing me a little bit with this YouTuber kind of like trash talk and the way he comes across. And I know that, I guess for traditional boxers or boxing fans, they don't really like a whole lot of shit talking. They like it amongst each other. Like, my guy's going to beat your guy, but they want to see these guys just duke it out, slug it out, that thing, and get on with it. I've never seen the whole lot of shit talking in the boxing. Sure, there's pushing and shoving at the weigh-ins. There is trash talking, but in the history of boxing, the best fights have always had a little bit of that back and forth, but not to the point of it's like a YouTube type shit talk. Like, it's really, it's when people say cringe, it's that cringe. It's like cringy when I hear someone who looks like Ryan Garcia, good looking kid, try to talk shit that you can tell he's just forcing it. It's bad. It's bad. Can you imagine if Oscar De La Hoya back in the day was trying to talk shit? People are like, what are you doing? You're a good looking guy. Like, you can box.
You don't need that.
You don't need that. You know, you got more fucking women at your show than anything. You don't need to talk shit. So that kind of vibe and that feel, I just feel this is a kind of a low point in boxing when you've got YouTubers kind of holding the sport up, like in terms of they're the ones kind of getting people more interested in boxing. It's kind of a low point. These guys are, this guy's not good.
Bad? Is that bad for boxing when you think about it? Because look at eyeballs on a product is what you're looking for. If you're the promoter, that's what you're looking for. If you're the cable, provider, that's what you're looking for. And you got to look at the numbers. Yeah. Josh, Logan Paul and Jake Paul, for whatever reason. Now, I kind of take Jake Paul and second fiddle him because he was on, his last fight you talked about with Nate Robinson was on a card that had Mike Tyson. Yeah. Everyone watched that, and I don't care what anyone tells me otherwise. That was about Mike Tyson, a little bit about Roy Jones Jr., and maybe a little bit about Jake Paul. But people bought that pay-per-view, and it did exceptionally well based upon Iron Mike Tyson. That was it. He is the one that carried that. It's just the way it is. But people, when you talk about boxing, if you're getting the attention, if you're getting the eyeballs, is that a bad thing?
Not for the fighters, but I mean, is it bad for the sport? I'm talking about, is it bad for the sport? Oh, yeah. It's bad for the sport. For
the sport, I agree. It's low quality.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. Even if you have Jake Paul fighting Ben Askren, it's a low quality boxing match. I got a 2-0 fighter that has fought 2 professional fights in boxing. I got an 0-0 boxer and a 19-2 mixed martial artist who is known for grappling and known for having a fairly weak stand-up game. It's low level.
Fairly weak.
Yeah, I was trying to be nice. Come on, man.
I try to be nice as well, but I have to be 100% honest with everyone. And that's the thing. Like, people may want to call me the punk, but I'm going to lay it to you guys the truth. The truth is that his stand-up has never been good, and it's not going to be good tonight. And the threat of his wrestling is what made his stand-up somewhat effective at the time.
Somewhat as good effective as it was. If you were going to say anything,
that now is gone.
All of his wrestling.
But now that is gone. That option of a takedown is not going to work. And Jake Paul hit the nail on the head when he said, he's like, look, your stand-up had a little bit of effectiveness when you could wrestle, when you could threaten the takedown. You can't do that. You can't do that little stuff to me anymore, those little takedowns, which is true.
And you can't do the other things that actually you were fairly successful in getting a single collar tie and raking dirty boxing action. That's all legal in MMA. You can't do any of that in boxing. It's not legal. It's everything is looking bad if you're looking at the actual stand-up game that Ben Askren has brought throughout his career in MMA. He didn't have the record he had. He didn't have the success he had based upon being a striker.
Yeah.
He's not.
Yeah, we know that. I think majority of the world knows that. So it's just, look, like I said, I'll continue to say this. I'm a big Ben Askren fan. I thought he had a phenomenal MMA career. I agree. Won titles pretty much everywhere he went. I thought he was a great fighter. I think he still is. I think he potentially still could be a good MMA fighter now that he's got his hip done. But the thing is, he is older. He's older. Okay, you're fighting a younger boxing guy. Why?
And you're talking about a guy with a hip replacement.
Yeah.
Okay, grandpas get hip replacements. Okay, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. And when you take a look, Bo Jackson was an athlete, and he got a hip replacement, and what happened?
Never played again.
He was never able to come back. He played a little bit of baseball and just hobbled down you looked at a guy that could fly. And then, he's an older fighter now. He's not an old guy, but he's an older fighter.
But different time though. Hip replacements back then were like the end of your career. Bo Jackson still came back and played a tiny bit, not football, but baseball. But now the hip replacements are a lot different now.
And we know King Mo had one and he came back, and there's been all kinds of guys, but still, it's not a plus in your corner.
But where does it go? Let's put all the fact that we know that Ben Askren's not a stand-up guy. We know all that. At the end of this, where does the dust settle? Does the dust settle in terms of let's just say Ben wins. Then what? That just kills back. That should kill Jake Paul off. See you later, dude. I never want to see you again. I don't want to hear your name in a YouTube video. I don't want to hear your name, period, on social media. You might want to delete your profile and come back as, something else. Jacquelina or something like Jacquelina Paul. Come back as that, because I don't want to hear it. But if he does win, where does that leave Ben? Does Ben give a shit? Ben doesn't care normally about a whole lot. He's not offended or upset by anything. Even he made fun of himself after the Masvidal. He takes his losses in strides, and he learns that he makes money and he knows what he's doing.
He took that Masvidal fight and said all the right things.
Yeah.
Never made an excuse, never said anything. He was, I got caught. It was the worst fight of my life. Well, it was 5 seconds. I looked pretty good for 4 of them. It's like,
yeah, he's good, man. Well, we'll see. But I have no interest in watching it, to be honest. It's not something I'm going to go and pay for. I'll just read about it online. And it really comes down to the fact that I know that Ben is representing MMA, but the issue
that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. That is the problem.
That's the problem.
Yep. Yeah. And
anytime you have this, and this is, you look at, you are representing a sport. That's what they're using.
Yep.
They're using what you did in that sport to try to sell what they're creating here. And when you don't represent it the right way, or you don't represent it well with your, performance in that ring, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. Well, Connor's not going to fight him. It'd be a total waste of his time. You've got Dylan Dennis wants to do it both ways. Do one in Bellator, do one MMA in Bellator, and then do one the other in boxing or whatever, vice versa. But who else? Didn't Logan Paul sign to fight Floyd Mayweather?
Yeah, that's still up in February.
The better of the two, right? Logan's the better of the two. Doesn't have the record to show it, but
he doesn't. If you can get it going both ways. He is, he didn't win as a pro. He lost. He got points taken away in his fight because he's a young fighter and makes mistakes and doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah. But he at least performed fairly well. But against Floyd, come on, man, it is not even gonna be. Floyd will do whatever he wants in that.
Yeah.
And Logan is way bigger than Floyd.
I'm looking at a picture of Logan, and Logan's to me is more marketable. He's a better looking kid. He's physically bigger though, right? From what I understand, he's what, 205 pounds, about 200 pounds.
He's a good 210, 215.
Oh, is he? He's that big.
His brother's about 185.
Got it. Because I remember, wasn't Logan the one that was wrestling or grappling with Coutinho?
Logan Paul was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. not Coutinho, but
Borchina.
I don't know why. Now it's
Paulo
stuck.
Costa? How's that?
Now it's stuck in my head. How about Paulo Costa? I love Paulo Costa, man. He's an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, when I look at the two of them, Jake's an ugly son of a gun, but Logan's
he looks like a poodle.
Yeah, Logan's got a better look, man. Yeah, it is true. Now that I look at him with the two earrings and the weird dyed hair, maybe it's not dyed, I don't know. But Logan to me is the more marketable one. So if I was anyone looking to put money behind something, I could see why Floyd took that fight. Yeah. Anyways, Look, I feel like we've spent enough time talking about this garbage. It's frustrating, man. Like I said, I really feel like it's the black sticky stuff on the bottom of the barrel that these guys.
The black eye.
Yeah, it's the black eye. It's that sticky gooey stuff at the bottom of the barrel that really is it's messing up boxing, man. It's really messing up boxing. You're proving that anyone off the street can just walk in and sell millions of pay-per-views or, hundreds of thousands of pay-per-views and make money, and it's not true. That's the problem.
Well, no, it's not, but you got to look and, this is the age that we live in and what social media does. And this is the power of social media. When you got guys like Logan or like Jake, they have such a following. They have so many people interested in what they're doing, and they continue to give information, put out content, and push these scenarios and push these formats and push these ideas out there. I think there'll be a lot of people watching it. I don't think many of them are going to be MMA fans.
No, I don't. I have to agree with you. That's pretty much what my initial take was on it. Is like majority of the people that know
I agree with you.
Ben Askren, that won't be MMA fans that watch. It'll be YouTubers and social media people.
Yeah.
Socialites.
Dang.
What's next?
Nate Diaz calling out Dustin Poirier, and then all the shenanigans that followed.
Yeah, if you read the tweets, John, can you pull up his tweets? Nate's tweets.
Yeah, right here.
Something to do with, it says here, I'm training to whoop your ass next. He has a picture of him and Dustin Poirier. There's a couple other ones talking about he'd never been finished like that. He's talking a lot of trash. I don't know, man. It really just comes out, says you and who's
Dustin
you
Poirier.
and DP? Yeah, Dustin Poirier, but who's you?
Connor.
Oh, you and DP just got choked on your face the other day by a guy that I ran off and didn't want none, especially with me. How you gonna fight for a title? You've been here 14 years and no one can do me like that ever. And then the reason why I know this happened, like why I know this was all going on, I got tagged about 50 billion times. People posting the picture of me knocking him out, and then I went in there and just told everyone to shh. And then, so then somebody said something, in terms to me. And so then they're like, oh yeah, it was an early stoppage and you got lucky. And I was like, early stoppage, his brother threw the towel in. So I just posted a picture of his towel being thrown in. So left it at that. But the bottom line is look, Nate does this and Nate gets what he wants. And as much as people want to criticize him and he's way off his rocker on this situation, like he's not even in the conversation. I don't even know is he still in the rankings?
No,
he's not even in the rankings.
Not at 155.
Yeah, and so what's the point of having this conversation, really? Now Dana did come out and say that Nate's going to be back at 155, and he's got someone for him to fight, and that it will basically be a great fight for him. And I think it's going to be Tony Ferguson. I
do too. I really do. I think that's the fight that they're looking at. When I talk to people and I hear some things, I would say that getting Nate back, that's someone that Tony could get excited about.
Yeah.
Because if you recall, several years ago, Dana had that thing of, Nate Diaz doesn't move the dial.
Yeah.
He doesn't move the needle. And it was, some people, yeah, he does. Yes, he does. And, no, he doesn't. And then he had the one fight where they put on at the Staples, and yes, he moves the needle. He definitely moves the needle now. Based upon his two fights with Connor and everything, you go and you look at the one thing that people know: when Nate Diaz steps in the cage, there's going to be a fight. Now, he may not win the fight. Masvidal was absolutely beating him in the BMF fight, but he was the creation of that. If you go back to that, Josh, it wasn't the UFC. The UFC took what he created in his mind and then made something of it. And that was smart on their part, but it was Nate Diaz that basically said, hey, that guy's a bad motherfucker. And we need to have a fight between two bad motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Perfect. He moves in here. People know that they believe when Nate Diaz steps in the cage, they're going to get a fight. They're going to get a guy that goes out there and walks forward and tries to put it on his opponent. That's what they're going to get from him. And I think, people can sit there and complain about what he's saying with Dustin. His job is to create interest. His job is to get the best fight that he can get that's going to pay him the most money. And that's what he's doing.
Well, here's the thing. Not only like when he does this, right? Because he's pretty silent on social media until like something like this happens.
Till there's a fight.
And then something blows up. When he says something, everybody wants that fight with him. Justin Gaethje's come out and said some shit like from a dude that only talks about it, doesn't do anything basically, and then you've got who else was there in the conversation there?
Gaethje and then Tony.
And then Tony said something like Tony came out and said all these guys do is have bad grammar. Fucking Nate, get off your ass and compete already. To me, I think the perfect fight is the Tony Ferguson fight. I think it's a phenomenal fight. Nate coming off a loss, Tony coming off of 2 losses. Is Nate coming off 2 losses? I think he's coming off the Conor loss, and then he's coming off the
no. He had the
the Pettis
the Pettis fight in
between
that, and then he had the BMF fight against Masvidal.
Yeah. He's got the win. He's got the win over. He lost to Conor, beat Pettis, and then he came back and lost to Masvidal. Yeah, I mean overall, look, I love what he does. I'm a big fan, and I've told people this. I just wish I could get the guy to talk to me, man. I'd love to have him on the show. Him and Nick, both. I'm being honest, man. Here, people think that because I won that I want to have him on. No. I just did for Yves Edwards, his very first podcast show was on Monday, and I did it on him. And what we did was we went through our first fight, or our fight together, and we broke it all down and our emotions. I don't give 2 shits. I like Yves Edwards. He's like one of my long-term friends. We were friends before we fought. We're long friends after.
One of the nicest guys ever.
If Nate would have beat me, he'd probably be my friend, but he didn't beat me. And so the bottom line is like, I've tried to get him on the show. I'd love to have him and his brother both on. They're phenomenal fighters. I'm a big fan of both of those guys. When it comes down to when they do this, I just sit back and go, this is awesome. I appreciate what they're doing because like you said, it was Nate that made that fight happen with Masvidal.
Yes, he did.
And it was kind of Nate that made that fight happen with Conor as well. I'm the big money fight. You know what a fucking money fight is. Like that's really you're
I don't
taking
know what
every
you boys are doing playing touch butt in the park.
Yeah, right. Like
best fight ever, man.
You're fucking taking everything that I worked for, like that type of stuff. Those comments is what gets him fights.
Yeah.
Nobody can be mad at that. And I respect that a lot. And I love both those guys. I will always buy their pay-per-views and watch them fight. And everyone knows I don't like to buy pay-per-views. Okay. So I do it when there's people out there that I really want to see.
I do the same thing because I respect that fighter and it's like, he deserves my money.
Yeah, he does.
That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely. I do. I love it. I don't know. I wish him luck. Hopefully he gets a big fight. I think it's going to be Tony Ferguson, which I think is a great fight for him. That puts him right back in the top 5, top 6, something like that. Great fight. And then you can move your way on down there. I'd love to see him and Justin Gaethje fight as well.
Yeah. I think I would rather at this moment, I think Gaethje and Conor are going to end up being put together.
I think so.
But I really think that fight with Tony Ferguson, that's a great fight. That's one that you can get behind. Both guys coming off of losses, multiple losses, if you're looking at Ferguson, but they match up really well. There's some interesting factors because both guys like to come forward, and it's a matter of the grappling games are different, but they're both good. It'd be a fascinating fight. It'd be fun to watch.
Can you pull up the rankings for me? Look, I know we had this conversation the other day about the 155-pound rankings in the UFC. So now that it's fully laid out, and they've got the rankings there. We've talked about Khabib being gone, so realistically, it just comes into now it comes into Dustin Poirier. Yeah. Dustin Poirier, and I'm a big fan of Dustin. I appreciate Dustin. I trained a long time ago back with Dustin and Frankie Edgars, and I've said that 1,000 times. But for all of our new listeners, I respect him a lot. From when I knew him back when he fought at 45, and I trained with him. He's just a humble, good kid to be around. And I love everything he's done with his career. He had said some stuff today about how they should just give him the title. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way. I like Dustin. I think it'd be cool if they did, but they will never do that.
I mean, it's happened. Let's be honest. Okay. There was times when, Ronda Rousey, they gave her the title. She was the Strikeforce champion.
I thought she fought for it against Liz Carmouche.
No, they gave her the title before. She said, I don't want it. Yeah. I want to win it in the cage, but they gave it to her.
Didn't they do that with Jose Aldo?
Yes, did the same thing with Aldo. That's the second one I'm going to say.
Yeah. Oh, Aldo, though, he to me, I felt like he had earned it.
Absolutely. I agree. Same thing.
They also didn't have a weight class. Did they? They didn't have that weight class, right? The UFC didn't have 145 until the WC came over.
No, I think when it all switched over, that's when it all cashed out.
Yeah. So I can understand
55 was the different one. They had a 155-pound weight class, and the WC guys came over, and there was a big clash of the talent pools between that.
Yeah. The WC guys took over.
I remember the champion was at that time, Pettis had just taken it from Benson Henderson.
Yeah.
And Clay Guida.
Yes.
Guida.
He beat him. Yeah. So he beat him, but then after that, Benson and Pettis became champion.
This is true.
So yeah, I do recall. But then they came over and they had success, and
they did.
They're talented fighters. When you're coming down to this list, though, I say Dustin. I still believe it's going to be Chandler, just because they were both on the same card. They both had knockouts. I think it's going to be Chandler. I just don't think that Charles Oliveira sparks people's interest enough right now to make it a marketable fight. Pay-per-view numbers will drop if they put Charles Oliveira in there. Nobody knows him as much
compared to, especially with what Chandler did. Mm-hmm. In that fight against Dan Hooker, it does help elevate the ability to sell based upon what they can put out there now. Because, it's kind of funny as you're watching that fight before it happens, you're seeing nothing on Michael Chandler. Now, you and I have watched Michael fight, 20 times, but they had no film because they couldn't put it out, that they don't own it. And so they're putting out training film and things like that. Now they have a highlight, and that's really what it takes. Give me one good highlight, I can make you a star. As long as you do your part, and that's what he did. So they have a good highlight to do it, and people are going to remember him, and they love the backflip off of the top of the cage, especially with, look at that was a high amplitude jump.
Yeah.
I was kind of worried he's going to blow out a knee too when he's landed, but
drives me crazy when the fighters do that. I'm like,
I know, it's crazy.
You guys look at what happened to Johnny Walker. And that was doing the shoulder. That was doing the watermelon crawl. Come on, guys. You guys are jumping off the top of the cage doing a backflip. Please stop doing that. You're killing me. No. You're killing me. Okay. Your career's this long in your whole life. You're just going to make it smaller. Just stop doing it.
Stand on top of it if you want. Turn around, jump straight down.
I really do believe that they're going to put Michael Chandler, and it's no knock on Charles Oliveira. It is a knock to him that they're doing that to him. But simple fact of the matter is, if you click on Charles Oliveira, I can't tell you who his last opponent before Tony Ferguson was.
Kevin Lee.
Okay. That was exactly. Kevin Lee's on what skid? Kevin Lee hasn't won in a while.
Look,
that's my point. My point is that it doesn't make sense to give someone who's coming off. He's good. Don't get me wrong. Nick Lentz just lost. Jared Gordon, Kevin Lee, Tony Ferguson. No, they're not going to give him. No, Jim Miller. You should not give him a title shot.
How do you put a guy that has one fight with one win,
former multiple-time world champion,
against someone when you've got a guy that is on an 8-fight win streak? Is it 8 or 9? It's one of the two.
2, 4, 6, 8.
Yeah, 8.
8-fight win streak.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay, wait, stop. I'm gonna take all those guys. Not one of those guys was ranked higher than Dan Hooker.
Okay.
So that means what? That means no. You're saying you're trying to compare all the guys that Michael Chandler has beaten, and he's a former world champion. That to me is more marketable than anything that Oliveira's done.
Ferguson was ranked where for how long?
Yeah, I agree with you. I do. But he was also coming off a loss, and the confidence was killed.
Yeah, well,
I got to be honest. Look, I'm not a fan of Michael Chandler, but I've got to pitch the story, man. I've got to pitch the fact that if I'm going to compare, and I'm looking at it from both ways. I'm looking at it from the UFC's point of view in terms of making money, John. And the point of them making money is, honest. That's the
whole thing.
That's the storyline.
That's number one.
When it comes down to what's going to sell, that fight's going to sell more than Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier for the title. That's all that people need to hear. And realistically, when I'm sitting there going, hey, do I want to see a grappler fight a striker and potentially get him taken down in submission? Or do I want to see two guys slug it out and get knockouts? Hell yeah. I'll take that fight. That's exactly what's going on. If I was gonna say, hey, I'm not mad at Michael Chandler versus Justin Gaethje either. If Oliveira's to get the fight, let me see the Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler fight. Sign me up. Hello, I'll take that all day long. But you're talking for the championship title that the person has vacated, Khabib, then they're going to have to do something that's explosive. You need to show that you have two guys out there that are phenomenal fighters that want to throw down to replace the champion that you know is 29-0. That just vacated the title because he was basically bored and walked away from the sport. You know, I mean, I know he lost his dad. There's a story behind it. I get it.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that, like he said, when he walked up to Dana, he's like, Dana, let's be honest. None of these guys are on my level.
Come on, you gotta be honest. How fucking just straight out gangster is that statement when you think about it?
Yes.
Hey, be honest. They're not on my level. It's like, but he can actually say it. And look, the number one guy in the division is Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. He proved that in his fight against Conor. And he did have that one guillotine attempt, but other than that, Khabib just owned him in that fight. And
look, I think the fact that you can market that Michael Chandler came over from Bellator as the former champion, multiple time world champion, comes over, gets a phenomenal knockout against Dan Hooker, made him look like he didn't belong in there. And the fact is that would be the fight to fight. And the other thing as well, how many eyes were on that fight that night because of Conor McGregor and Dustin? Don't get me wrong, right. And Dustin.
How many? I agree.
And so more people probably know Michael Chandler right now than they know Charles Oliveira.
Yeah, it's possible. 1.6 million pay-per-view buys is what they're saying. So.
More people know who Michael Chandler is now because of that night. He was a co-main event. It was the second most talked about fight on that card, obviously. But it really just came down to the fact that he performed, and when the bottom line is when you're looking at the UFC, they're going to say, hey, which fight's going to make us the most money right now? That fight. It's not going to be Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier. Okay. And then after that, you've got probably Charles Oliveira fighting Justin Gaethje. You have that as the co-main event because if someone gets COVID, hey, at least you can bump one of those guys up there. You're going to have a barn burner with Justin Gaethje, but if they'd put Charles up there, unless Charles is the one who got COVID, and somebody else if they both got COVID. So I don't know. But to me, that'd be a good fight to have. A good co-main event would be Oliveira versus Gaethje. And then you have the Chandler versus Dustin. That'd be your top four guys are fighting right there.
It'll be interesting to see. We'll find. Eventually, within a couple weeks, maybe a month, we'll find out.
Yeah. But I look at Chandler didn't take any shots. Justin took a couple shots, but he's got like a little bit of a mark here and there. He'll be ready to go within 3 months. He could fight probably in 4 if he wanted to.
Yep.
So go back, you take a week or two off, enjoy his $1.2 million payday with his family, and and then come back and try to win that title, baby. That's really what it comes down. I'm happy for him. I'm so happy for Dustin.
I think that Dustin just needs to look at the fact that hey, he's the number one driver in the seat to get that title. No one's going to give it to him.
No,
and I don't think he wants it given to him. Obviously, he's earned it through his actions. Or he's at least earned the right to be the guy that's in that cage when that belt is on the line. But, it's always better when you win the fight. When he beat Max Holloway for the interim belt, What can anyone say? He deserves it. He deserves that. But when someone hands you something, it just doesn't look the same. It doesn't seem the same, and people don't respect it in the same manner.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. Look, I want the best for him. I really like Dustin. I think he'll make a phenomenal champion.
So hold it. Are you saying that you are going to root for Dustin Poirier over? Oh, no, yeah, I guess you would.
I would. I'd root for him over Oliveira, and I'd root for him over Chandler and some of the other guys.
I know, and it's hey, that's. But and this is what's funny. A lot of people are like, I can't believe that you like that person. Everyone's got people that they like. There's styles they like. There's attitudes they like. There's personalities they like, and there's ones that they don't. That's just the way the world is. Yeah,
I will root for Dustin. Let me see in those rankings there. I will root for him until Islam Makhachev gets up there.
He's got a couple that he's going to have to get back. He's a couple fights away, but if he performs well, and that guy is phenomenal. You know how good he is. It's just a matter. There is a difference between him and his mentor or his friend, Habib, and their ability to do it under the lights.
Yeah, there's a little bit different. I think that will come with more activity, though. More activity in the cage, in the bright lights, in the spotlight, all those things. I think it'll come with more activity.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I agree.
John kind of mentioned it already, but do you guys have any expanded thoughts on the 1.6 million pay-per-view buys? It was 1.2 on ESPN Plus, and then the other 0.4 came from international.
I thought it was going to be more. I thought they were going to hit 1.8. Sorry, I thought they were gonna. I thought also too, because Dan Hooker being from New Zealand and the Australia market, I thought maybe they would potentially drive it up and bump it up more. I thought it would be a little bit more. But I wasn't. I was pushing 2, but I thought 1.8. I thought 1.8.
I had said 1.5. I said 1.5.
Yeah.
And I figured that was a fair number, because when you're getting past that 1.5, it's very rare. Yeah. It's very rare. And so you look at the numbers that they did, and you look at the card overall. I think the UFC should be very happy with what they got out of it. I think they're happy with the fights that occurred. Maybe they're not so happy the way that the last one went, but that's fighting, and that's the best part about it. It's not predetermined, unlike some things like Podcast Dave likes.
He likes that WWE fake stuff.
Real wrestling.
Weird. What else you got?
We're going to jump over to fan questions. So do you guys want to run through this before?
Yeah. Let's go.
MyBookie.ag, MyBookie.com. Use the promo code Weighing In. They'll give you 50% of your initial deposit. And you guys, we've also forgot to mention in the beginning of the show, hit that little bell on your YouTube channel. That will signify that you will notify other people that you're watching our show. And that gets our word out, because what we did.
Them. It notifies the individual.
It notifies them when a new show comes out. Yeah. Very nice. I like that. And then it will also let other people know.
Let's do this. Mm-hmm. For all the people that are watching the show and liking it, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. We appreciate you tuning in, listening to the podcast, making comments on it. We can't, we can sit here and talk all day long, and we do even without you. I'm going to be honest. Okay. But we really do appreciate the fact that you're enjoying the show and supporting it. Thank you so much.
And you guys always hit me up in my DMs when you see my clips of filming in the studio and say, when is this going to drop? If you just click that little bell, you're going to get the text alert when it comes out, and then you won't have to go and search on YouTube for it.
There you go. Yeah, just hit that little bell, and that'll let you know when our shows drop. And then also, too, when you hit that bell, it also shares our show out to everybody else, letting everybody else know that you watch our show. So we do
only goes to show everyone how intelligent you really are.
Also, hit the thumbs up. That will share our videos to other people, and that'll put there on their timeline as well. So when they open up their YouTube, that will let them know that you are watching our video, or other people that are like-minded like them will watch them know you're watching our videos as well. What else you got?
All right. Ready to jump into fan questions?
Fan questions, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. Ian Gossett wants to know, is Wonderboy the most overlooked and consistently underrated fighter in MMA history? # get Wonderboy the title fight he deserves.
Wonderboy ran into one man that caused him problems in this sport. And it's T. Wood. That was the guy that ended up. If you go through what Wonderboy was doing before T. Woodley, he was running through guys. I did a multitude of his fights, Jake Ellenberger, Johnny Hendricks, Rory McDonald, and he was just making them look bad. But you're always going to find that one guy that gives you problems. Mm-hmm. And T. Wood was the guy that, in the end caused Wonder Boy problems as far as he did well. He did well in the first one. Second one, he didn't do quite as well. But, also got hit with shots that put him down. Close fights, but that was the difference maker because it was almost like, well, now that T. Wood is the champion and he had 2 losses to him, basically one I think was a draw. It was a tough situation for him. And now that the division is open back up, you are seeing, he had an outstanding fight in his last fight against Jeff Neal. He looked fantastic against a guy that's got heavy hands and just showed what, when we talk about, there's a difference in technique. The technical ability of both of these guys or both of these ladies is different. Well, that was what you saw in that fight with Jeff Neal. You saw Jeff Neal being a guy coming forward, trying to do the things that were going to make him successful in that fight and not being able to actually make those things happen based upon the technical superiority of what Wonder Boy does and how good he is. And he can be right back in the mix. But I think when the UFC looks at him, Josh, they're looking at a guy named Kamaru Usman sitting at the top, who very much reminds them of Tyron Woodley. Yeah. Good wrestler, controls the fight, has some stand-up and power, and man, as a matchup, might be a real hard matchup for Wonder Boy, and they don't want that same situation. But I think Wonder Boy, honestly, he's 1 or 2 wins and a little bit changing of the top. You put Gilbert Burns as the champion, I think the UFC loves Wonder Boy versus Gilbert Burns.
You think so?
I do.
I look at it a couple different ways. Stephen Thompson, can you click on his name again, please? When you click on his name, scroll up to the top.
He's see nicest fighter in the game.
He's 37 years old.
Yes.
They have no desire to have him fight for the title. We got to start. I want everyone to look. If you guys are new fans, okay, you guys are new subscribers, you guys have to understand the dynamic of this is a business. And when it comes down to the business of MMA, which a lot of fans at home don't seem to understand that because they don't pay attention. They don't follow along as well as obviously you and I do doing our show. At 37 years old, if I give him a title shot and he beats someone like Kamaru Usman, now you've kind of ruined my division because I know you're not going to be there very long. So it's hard. I'm trying to build stars. I'm trying to build someone that will be there for a long time that I can market and sell pay-per-views to. And you can't do that. You can't do that with Stephen Thompson as much as I like him. I've hung out with him several times, did a movie with him, that Ranger 15. Like it just fights like things like that. He's very marketable. He is, but he's 37. The time now is like, look, I know you're in that top echelon of guys, but let's go ahead and see who else we can have. We got Colby Covington, who's younger. We've got, who else is there? Can you pull up the brackets? You've got Colby Covington that's there. You've got, I know Masvidal's not younger, or he is a little bit younger, but he's marketable in terms of the fact that Gilbert Burns is younger. You've got Leon Edwards, younger. Chimaev is coming up, right? Younger. Chiesa, younger. Woodley's older. Maya's older. Damian Maya's older. Vicente Luque, but Vicente
Luque still has the ability to fight with anyone, though.
Yes. Yeah, I do as well. I'm just saying when you get to those upper guys, Colby, Gilbert, Leon, George, all younger than him.
Yeah. And again, this is, it all comes down to, there are those specific athletes. There are those guys. And I'll pull up, I use Randy Couture all the time because he's a guy that started fighting at the age of 33. All right. And when he was 43, came out of retirement and fought for the heavyweight title and won it. But you can take a look at Stephen Thompson and you can put him in that Randy Couture type of, mold. He is the guy that people like. He is super nice. He's known for being just a nice, good guy. And he has taken care of himself for the most part.
Yeah.
He is healthy. He doesn't do anything, bad for himself. So when you take a look at his age at 37, yes, biologically he's 37, but he hasn't taken a ton of damage. He got knocked out badly by Anthony Pettis. And that can happen. But rebounded, and you can see that he rebounded well in his other fights. And that Neal fight, he looked great. He looked so good. Now, he hurt his foot a little bit, had some problems with a leg as far as I think his calf, might have been pulled or something. But he's the kind of guy that I think you can look at the age of 37, and you can see him fighting till he's 40. That's 3 years. And if he's a champion and he's your champion for two of those years, you're getting what you need out of him.
Okay, so I agree with you on the terms of, well, you have guys like Brandon Tour, Dan Henderson that can fight into their 40s, later 40s, whatever it is. I agree. But those are also at higher weights. When you get into the lower weights, it's harder for those lower weight guys to fight into their 40s, because what's the first thing that goes? The speed. The speed goes. When the speed goes, it's harder to maintain that level of fighting at the lighter weights. 170, 155, 145, 135. It's just ridiculous at like 25, 35. If you're not fast, you're getting smoked.
You're dead.
All the way up to 55. I mean, 55, even I think 70 is kind of that threshold.
It is.
His style allows him to get away with a lot. But a lot of it is banked on the fact that it's speed. It's that Roy Jones factor. Roy Jones Jr., a lot of his style was speed. And if once the speed started going, he started getting clipped. And then there it went. And that was kind of the situation. People started looking at him at 37, and with the Pettis fight, they wanted to write him off. I wasn't ready to write him off, but I'm saying that you started going, wow, those are punches that didn't used to land before. And you're 37, sure. But when you get into that 40 at 170 pounds, you start questioning like how much longer you can do it. And as a promotion, I'm saying at 170, if it was higher, if he was 205 or he was even 185, he was 180. Look at Yoel Romero, 185, 185, 205. That's kind of those weights and heavyweight that you can get away with being older, because the speed is not as much of a factor as the power is, and a little bit of the wrestling and all that stuff that goes along with it. They don't fight at a fast pace like the lighter guys do. And so I can see the hesitation with the UFC with him, given those situations.
Well, I totally agree with you as far as the speed factor. But if you go back and you watch his fight with Jeff Neal, he was fast. He looked good. Yeah. The speed was there.
I got you. Next question. That was a long ass question. That was a long ass answer. I mean, go ahead.
The next question comes from Yayo, and he wants to know, to both John and Josh, what advice would you give to Dan Hooker after suffering his most recent loss?
Very simple. First off, he's got to spend some time in Abu Dhabi based upon the quarantine thing. But get home, just take a couple days off, go back into the gym, not to spar, but just to get movement, to get technique, to work on little elements, and put that fight, put it in the back burner. It's past. You didn't look good. You didn't fight the way that you can fight. And every fighter is going to have those nights. That is just the way it is. You are still an outstanding fighter, and you still have the ability to beat the very best guys there are on a given night. And so you got to put it to the back and say, hey, I didn't perform. It was my fault. I made mistakes, and I'm going to fix those mistakes, and I'm going to move on.
Dan Hooker, when you get home, don't do a thing for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you got knocked out. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but guess what? Your brain needs time to recover. Don't heat it up. Lay around. Don't even read books. Don't watch TV. Just really just lay around, go for walks, hang out, go to the beach, do whatever it is that you like to do, but don't do anything that causes your body temperature to rise. Okay. I mean, just given all the history that I've looked into in terms of concussions, brain damage, that type of stuff that causes it after a knockout, is the dumbest thing you can do is get back in the gym and start doing something. If your body temperature rises, it keeps your brain from healing. Take your time. I know you're going to be in Abu Dhabi for 2 more weeks? I think until the 21st, almost 3 weeks. That means just hang around. Don't do much. Don't do anything active. Don't go running for sure. Don't do any shadow boxing. Don't go lift weights. Don't strain yourself at all. Just brain recovery is the most important part. Eat lots of essential fats, all those type of things that will help your brain recover.
Fish oils.
Yeah, fish oils. Yeah, exactly. Macadamia nuts, those type of things that will actually help your body and your brain recover. Take your time. There is no rush to get back. You are 30 years old. You're a phenomenal fighter. Your body style will permit you to become get back into that top conversation of 1, 2, and 3. He's great. I can't wait to see him come back and see what he can do. It just wasn't your night. Your 2 losses you've had now have been to former champions, Dustin Poirier being the interim champion and Michael Chandler, being a Bellator former champion. There's no shame in that. It just lets you know that when you're fighting former champions or champions, that you're right there. So you just got to make a couple tweaks. 30 years old, bro. You're still in your prime. Gosh, man, you're still in your prime.
His prime's coming.
Yeah, it's not even like that 30, 31, 32 those are your moments. You have 3 years of this. Just get ready to enjoy it. But you have to make sure you take care of yourself. Otherwise, it will go quicker than you think. Even faster if your brain doesn't recover. So just take your time. My advice to him would be that. Don't just move on. Move on, but take your time and recover.
Yeah, I meant to ask on Saturday, Bruce Buffer, when he announced Michael Chandler, he acknowledged him as a former Bellator champion. He was very specific in not saying world champion, but he did say Bellator champion. That's not common, right? That they acknowledge other promotions like that?
No, they did. I mean, for me, they introduced me as
Strikeforce champion.
Former Strikeforce. But they own the company.
That, yeah.
But they own this.
That's big difference right there.
Yeah.
Is there anything to that? Do you think more?
I think that I've heard them announce the girls, I believe, is the Invicta champion.
But they also own that.
Basically,
do they own Invicta, or they just have them on Fight Pass?
I don't want to say they own Invicta, but they take care of Invicta.
Gotcha. I gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Or do you think it was just simply that they were trying to pump him up as somebody credible?
As simple as it gets. Everything that comes out of Bruce's mouth has been run through the production team and Dana. So Bruce, I'll get into a story. I left the UFC for specific reasons early on. And then I came back to refereeing after a specific amount of time. And, I didn't referee in the UFC for, let's say, a couple years based upon, supposedly I'd said bad things about him or something like that. Well, a specific regulator asked me, hey, he says, I want to put you in this UFC that we have, but they were saying that you said bad things. I said, find them. Find those things. I said, just because someone says something doesn't mean that it's true. Yeah. So he goes and he does his research and he looks and nothing. He says, I'm putting you on the show. I said, okay, I'll take it. So I take it knowing that, it's going to be awkward going back there. And, one of the things that Dana's big thing is you will not call him Big John McCarthy. And so that was Bruce Buffer comes, John, I can't call you Big John. I said, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't mean shit to me, Bruce. What do I care? Yeah. Right. And then the next thing is, he introduces me and John McCarthy. Right. Oh, and then right away, Mike Goldberg, Big Joe McCarthy. So look at nothing Bruce puts out has not gone through what Dana wants. And Dana obviously looked and thought, this is going to help me more than it would hurt me or cause me a problem. I think I want this out there. And that's why he did it.
I think again, the Michael Chandler situation is the simple fact of the matter is he's beaten good guys. He's beaten guys that were their former champions in the UFC. So when people look them up, oh, you beat Eddie Alvarez. Oh, you beat Benson Henderson. Oh, you
twice.
Yeah. You're going to get into that conversation of why are we not going to say that he's from another organization that beat those guys in that organization, by the way, that used to be our champions here. It was a smart call, I think, on their part. Good on them.
Yep. The next question comes from Coupe de Gras, and he asks, do you think there's a path for Dominic Cruz back to the title? Personally, I think his fight IQ, his overall fighting style is pretty hard to beat for anybody, and I saw him starting to turn it up a bit against Cejudo before the fight ended.
I like Dom. Do I think he's going to get back to the title? No. I think if they do get him back to the title is because it's Dominic Cruz. They're willing to go ahead and do that, but I doubt it. He's got a really tough fight with Casey Kenny.
Oh, he's got a tough fight.
That's a really tough fight. Casey Kenny's really good.
And it all comes down to exactly what you were talking about with Stephen Thompson. It just amplifies as those weight classes go down. And, Dom has lived off of the fact he is pretty athletic, pretty fast, had a very strange and unorthodox style that he was outstanding with in switching his stance and landing shots that a lot of guys wouldn't be able to land and causing a disruption in the flow of the fight for his opponent where they couldn't catch up to what he was doing. Those days are gone. The speed is not quite the same. He has had a lot of injuries. It's not that he's not an intelligent fighter. He is super intelligent. He's got a super high fight IQ. But when you are facing someone that has speed advantages over you, now that fight IQ is put into place of where can I attack this guy and be successful and not be hit by him. He's going to have his hands full against, Casey Kenny. I look at, I always looked and said, I thought the fight that I wanted to see was Dom versus, Jose Aldo. Yeah. I think that's a great matchup just because of what they have both done in the past. But I don't see Dom being a UFC champion ever again.
Yeah, it sounds like they're looking at Jose Aldo versus Cody Garbrandt. I mean, there's a lot of back and forth between the two, and it sounds like that's kind of the direction in which they're leaning, which I don't understand by Cody. Why would you want that fight? You're ranked way ahead of. They're not way ahead of him, but you're ranked ahead of him now.
Yeah, and Cody was talking about going to flyweight.
Yeah, apparently he wanted to go there and get the automatic title shot, but they're saying that he was not going to get the automatic title shot.
Well, remember, he was scheduled
because is it Perez? Perez has the title shot. He's going to do a rematch. Is it Perez?
No,
it's Moreno. Sorry. CTE, fellas, CTs. Oh man, he fought Perez the week before.
Yeah, 2 weeks before.
2 weeks before. Yeah. Nah, let's see, confused.
So you got the name right. I'm so impressed.
So you got
Josh.
Frankie. You got yeah. I can't get 58 plus 58 though.
You sitting there thinking, what is that?
Frankie Edgar and Cody Sanhagen are fighting. Cody Garbrandt was talking about fighting Jose Aldo. Aljamain Sterling's fighting for the title. You got Rob Font in that mix there. I mean, Cody and Rob Font would be a fun fight.
That would be a good fight.
It'd be a fun fight.
I gotta tell you, I don't like that style matchup with Sanhagen and Frankie.
No.
But there's don't.
Who are you gonna get him above though? There's no one else above.
And this is me being a homer. Yeah. I'm sorry. I love Frankie Edgar. He is as good a human being, as good a fighter, has done so much, and is good with other fighters too. Yeah. I love the guy. That's just a hard matchup for him. But he's pulled it off before.
He's a gunslinger, man.
Oh, he's just a stud.
He's just a stud, man.
He's a stud. He's the answer.
Yeah, he's. I think I can't think of another fighter I probably admire more than Frankie Edgar. Just everything about him, the way he handles himself, the way he is around other people, the way he handles himself in that fucking cage. I mean, I know everyone talks about the Gray Maynard fights, but I talk about the Benson Henderson fight where he got up kicked in the face. Yep. It broke his nose right off the bat. His fights with BJ Penn, how he had to win. He had to basically defend his title multiple times against a couple guys. Every time he fought, it was like, it was close. It was like I felt like they never wanted him to be champion, which I got that. I seemed like that was the feel every time he fought
for a while.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are you guys doing, man? This guy's
the fact that he took the title from BJ when he took the title back in Abu Dhabi. That was the very first time that the UFC had ever been there.
Saudi Arabia, I thought.
No, Abu Dhabi.
Okay.
And it was the fact that he took it from the guy that he took it from was, a lot of people, man, they idolized BJ and loved him. And a lot of people were saying he didn't win that fight. And you go back and you watch and you go, yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
And then in the next one, he dominated. And the one after that, it was even worse.
Yeah.
And Frankie Edgar has just been a stud his entire career. And he deserves everything good coming his way because he has been unbelievably good for the UFC and for the sport of MMA.
Yep, I agree, man. I agree. Next
question comes from Ben Cooley, and he wants to know, can you break down Bellator middleweights? Who's in the title picture?
I think right now, man,
if you're going to look at the top five, you got to be honest about certain things and say, well, obviously they got Gegard Mousasi. He is your champion.
Yep.
And he's, sitting at a level just based upon what he's done in the past and the experience of who he's been against and the battles that he's had and what he's learned from those battles. He's sitting, at an apex that's going to be tough for a lot of the fighters in Bellator to reach. He has his teammate in Costello Van Steenis, who isn't going to fight him.
Yeah,
Now, Van Steenis is outstanding, but you got to take him out of the equation while Gegard is the champion because they're not going to fight each other. John Salter has got an incredible ground game.
Mm-hmm.
Just phenomenal how good he is in the ground game. But Gegard Mousasi has an outstanding ground game too. And it's the stand-up where Salter's going to have to be shooting for takedowns and getting those takedowns against a guy like Gegard and putting Gegard on his back. It's not going to be an easy thing for him to do. But Salter is outstanding, in what he does. He's just a more one-dimensional fighter than Gegard. You got to go to Fabian Edwards. Take a look at the skill set that's Leon Edwards' brother. He's got it all.
Yeah.
Come on, Josh. Does the guy have it all when he, it's there. It's just a matter of putting the entire package together. Skill set wise, technical wise, man, he's fast, he's powerful, he's nasty. But, he's got to put the whole thing together because in certain fights, seems like he almost holds back at times.
Yeah.
But the skill's there, and he's a stud. Mike Shipman's another guy, super tough. I just don't see him being able to take on Gegard or anything like that.
No, I really think you're going to see Gegard probably enter into that 205-pound tournament if they do have one. There's nothing there's nothing for him right now to do, and the chance and the opportunity to win $1 million on top of all of his fight purses, I think that kind of triggers him to be like, hey, this could be my retirement. In terms of the people that are there at the top, you've got Salter ahead of Van Steenis because he's beaten Van Steenis, but Van Steenis just didn't fight smart.
Van Steenis was coming on in the third round, putting it on Salter. So it was a close fight.
Yes. And so, to me, I feel like Van Steenis is kind of the future of that division. So damn good. He beat Fabian Edwards. But I've got Salter, Van Steenis, Fabian. And then I know we've got some other guys that are all in that mix there. But I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. You got Anatoly Tokov.
I forgot about Tokov. Tokov
he's in
20,
there.
Is he 28-2?
It says 28, yeah, 28-2.
Dude, he's a stud.
Yeah, so he's a stud though.
He'd be the guy right at the very top of the list.
Yeah, so there's Tokov, Salter, Van Steenis, Fabian Edwards, and then for me, look, this is just strictly for me. And there's two guys actually that I think have bright futures, but they're one of them's young, one of them's not. One of them's very new to the sport. Is the one that because I work with him as well, but Romero Cotton, he's got a bright future as long as he stays on track, but he is older. He's in his 30s already, and he's got a late start in sport. He's undefeated. What is he, 6-0 now? 5-0, 6-0?
5.
He's 5-0 now.
He's 5-0, but let's make this very clear. He may be older as far as, when he started in the sport for, certain reasons. The guy has taken 0 damage in this sport.
Yeah.
0. Even in his first fight, which is his toughest fight that he ever had, where he was taking a guy down, a guy who kept trying to put submissions on him and stuff, still didn't take any damage.
Yeah.
He is a stud athlete. And the other thing about him, Josh, this, most people don't. Dude, he's a mean sumbitch.
He is. He's like super. I mean, like when I talked to him and I trained him tonight, actually, I was hitting some mitts with our whole mitts for him and stuff and working with him. He's got some big power. He's physically strong. Everybody in the gym at AKA is like, I've never trained with someone who's that strong. Nobody's that strong. I mean, Kyle Crutchmere has talked about how strong he is. Kyle Driscoll has talked about how strong he is. All these guys, man, they're like, man, this guy's the strongest guy I've ever grappled. Deron Wynn talking about that. Him and Islam Makhachev both. Like, man, these guys are super strong. But I really am interested in the Norbert Novenyi Jr. He's 20 years old. He's he's young. He's a baby, but he's got a great fighting style. He has that little bit of that side, like Taekwondo style kickboxing. It's not the greatest, not the most technical, but his dad was a Olympic silver medalist, gold medalist in Greco-Roman. He's got
wrestling.
good wrestling himself. He's got good wrestling himself.
Got a good submission game.
Good submission game. We saw that in his last fight. He's young. He's a baby.
Yes. He's got years to go to learn the things and the experience that's going to get him to that next level.
And I think he's going to get there. He has a little bit of that Michael Venom Page kind of stand up. Obviously not the level of that, but they train together.
Yeah. And blood and shoe fighters.
It's fun, man. It's fun. I like the way he fights. He fought Will Fleury and just absolutely destroyed Will, but he put it all together and was out there having fun. And I enjoy watching him fight. I've called a couple of his fights now. But I think he's got a bright future as long as he's able to stay active. I know he's over in the UK and stuff, so it's like seeing how many shows we do over there and how many shows we can get him on, but getting him into the big lights on a big name show. I'm excited for him. I think you have Van Steenis and Fabian Edwards who are kind of like the future of it right now, the current future. This kid in 6-7 years, I think will be the future of that division.
Oh yeah.
I think he'll be the future. As long as he continues to get better, 1% better, better than the day he was the day before, a little bit better. I think he's going to be phenomenal. It's the progressions of the daily improvements. As long as he's doing that, I think he'll be the champion one day.
Thank you for bringing up Tokov because I totally forgot. And he is
good.
Is there a chance to put Yoel at 185 just to try and get some eyes on it?
No,
I don't think so.
He's going to be in the tournament. I think after the tournament, I don't know if he's going to be around.
So is there going to be a tournament, you're saying?
I think there will be. I don't know when.
I think so, yeah.
I don't know when.
Nothing has been put out there for sure.
Yeah, nothing's been put out.
It would be nice to see.
This was the other thing right here. Just released. Fedor Emelianenko released from the hospital after battle with COVID-19.
I know that feeling.
Were you didn't get put in the hospital though, right?
No, I didn't.
No, you stay out. He was. They said he had some serious issues though. So I don't know. California's opened up yesterday. They opened everything up 6 days after the inauguration.
I know I'm here.
COVID is gone. That's right. You're in
back.
LA. That's right. You're not.
I'm not in LA yet.
Yeah, you're in LA.
No, I'm in Central Coast. I'm at Pismo Beach.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I was talking to Miss McCarthy.
The boss.
The boss. Yeah.
The boss.
I like that area.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous area.
All right.
Right
what
by
else?
John Hackelman at Royal Grande.
You ran into him?
No, I said we were going to go by his place, and then I just ran out of time.
Gotcha.
So.
I like him.
Oh, great guy.
What you got, Dave?
Bonsai Cheeks wants to know if Max
Bonsai Cheeks.
Yeah.
Bonsai Cheeks.
He wants to know if Max and Volk run it back and Max comes out on top, do we see a fourth and potentially fifth fight? Not fair to Volk if Max wins the third and doesn't get and Volk doesn't get a rematch. Does it turn into a best of 5 or stop after 3?
Go ahead, brother. I'll talk.
You talk. Go ahead, man.
All right. As simple as it gets. If Max loses to Volkov, that will definitely be it. You're not going to get 3 wins and see another fourth fight. I just don't see it happening. But if he gets a win over Volkanovski, you will absolutely see Volkanovski getting a shot again against him.
Immediate rematch?
I can't say it's going to be immediate. There might be one in between because you have a couple of guys in that weight class that are right at the top. And we talked about this. I think you're going to see that 3-way go with Ortega, Max, Volkanovski. They're all so good that it's just a given night. It just depends on who's on that night. So we can see something going back and forth there. If you go all the way back into boxing, and people don't remember, but the best boxer there ever was not Floyd Mayweather. It was Sugar Ray Robinson. That's a guy that was just unbelievable. And he had 6 fights, Josh, against a guy that they made a movie about called Raging Bull in Jake LaMotta.
Gotcha.
All right. 6 fights they had. And that's because they were great fights. Well, let me ask you this. Have the Volkanovski versus Holloway 2 fights been pretty goddamn good so far?
No.
No, man. You are
I
crazy,
thought
man. That second fight was outstanding.
I thought it was good, but they weren't great. They're not like they weren't barn burners to me. They weren't like they weren't.
I love
they
that
were
second
good
fight.
fights. Don't get me wrong. I'm a nerd when it comes to watching them fight. But I'm saying if I'm a casual fan at home, they weren't barn burners. I would have rather
the Michael Chandler knockout on
no,
Hooker.
No. Max Holloway's last fight, that to me was impressive. That was a performance.
No. Max Holloway's last fight. Come on, you got to be honest. No one has ever done what he did in that fight.
But that's my point. My point is that was impressive.
Yeah, it's not something you can expect all the time.
But I know that. What I'm saying though is, if I'm a casual fan at home, okay, let's just say, because let's just pretend I'm Podcast Dave. I'm a casual because that's what Podcast Dave is.
I can picture that perfectly.
Yes,
thank you.
Podcast Dave is a casual. He's at home going, okay, Max Holloway and Volkanovski. Do I want to see it 3-4 times? No. Like they were good fights in my eyes. They were great fights. I liked watching them. I was very impressed with Volkanovski in the first fight, and I thought Max won the second fight. I thought Volkanovski won the first. I thought Max won the second.
So did I.
I understood that. But do I I want to see a third because I want to see when the dust settles. After that, I have no desire. Like if Max wins, I want to move on.
You don't think there's Volkanovski should be able to get another shot?
No, he hasn't been.
You are so brutally cold.
Max was the champion.
Brutally cold.
Max was the champion for multiple title defenses. Volkanovski's defended the title twice?
Yep.
No, just once to him.
Once
to him. No, that's
twice.
Absolutely not.
One was a defense.
Had he beaten two other guys in the middle of that, and I'd say, you know what, he has a couple title defenses, and Max comes back and beats him, I'd say, okay, let's give him a rematch. You know, it makes sense. But no, your one fight to defend the title has been against the guy that you beat to win it. No, now you lost it to him. Nah. Go get a win or two and then come back. And I like Volk. I like Volkanovski a lot.
I'm calling you the Australian hater.
No, this guy.
Oh man.
No,
I don't know. I think he deserves it. You know, if he ends up losing to Max, yeah, he deserves another rematch. I'm not saying it's immediate. I can see one fight in between, but I can definitely see the rematch being in order.
I think Brian beats him anyways.
Just might.
Yeah. What I did like was what Volkanovski said about Max Holloway, because people need to understand that this is very true. Is that Volkanovski said, well, Max Holloway doesn't look like that in front of me. And that's true. Styles make matchups. And I got to tell you, like, people think that they're going to go out there. Oh, he do this and do that. No. That fighter doesn't look that way because of what we talked about earlier, the Ben Askren effect. It's like they're feared the takedown so much that they don't let their hands go. They don't pull the trigger. They don't look like the same fighter in front of me. And Volkanovski had pointed that out. And I thought that was brilliant on his part, because Max Holloway may look great and phenomenal against somebody else. He don't do that shit in front of me. And when he pointed that out, that should be an eye-opening reality check for all the hardcore MMA fans going, damn, he's right. That's true. He don't look like that in front of me.
And that's exactly, it brings out what we talk about all the time is, look, when you become one-dimensional, you become an easy fighter to deal with. And when you have all the elements going that are part of MMA that you present to someone, even if it doesn't work, you're now at least making it to where they have to at least think about it. They have to be concerned with it. And, you know, the fight with Calvin Kattar, stand-up guy, he was not worried about being taken down. And that's why he had that output and that efficiency that we saw that was so impressive. And I agree with you. I agree with Volkanovski. It's a matter of, hey, he doesn't look like that against me. He can't.
Yeah.
He can't open up that same way because he'll end up in a position now where he's fighting his way off of the mat.
Yep, it's very true.
James McAfee has one.
That's close to a perfect name. Very close.
James McAfee.
McCarthy. You mean Miss McCarthy? I mean McAfee. Miss McAfee.
He has a short question for you. He wants to know, Josh, what was your most embarrassing MMA moment? And John, who is your favorite fighter of all time?
Go, Josh.
My
go.
most embarrassing MMA moment. Oh, I mean, I don't really have one. I don't look at, I guess you could say the Eves fight. I mean, realistically, but it's not really, to me, it wasn't an embarrassing moment. It was just more frustration. And if you guys, I don't know the name of Eves' podcast, but we talked about it on Friday on his podcast about the fight. And we did a full breakdown. We watched the video, we talked over it and all this stuff. But it really just came down to the fact that at that time, the game was different. You know, there was only 5 to 7 pay-per-views at a time. And both of us were so frustrated because it should have been for the lightweight title. You know, it was multiple times. I was ranked number 1 in the world at the time. He was ranked number 2. We both beat Yves Edwards to get there. And it was, or not Yves, sorry, not Yves, but Hermes Franca.
There you go.
We'd both beat Hermes Franca to get there. And if you go back and we went back and watched that round, and I was throwing Yves around like it was no one's business. Big bodies.
Wasn't that part of the problem in your mind, though?
What do you mean? That it should have been for the title?
At the time, no. At the time, how old were you?
Oh, geez, I was like 22, 23.
Exactly. I would have said 23.
Yeah.
So you were about 23 years of age, and at that time, you were cocky as hell.
Yeah.
And you were throwing him around.
Yeah, you misspelled confident, but yeah.
And you got but you got overconfident in that, this is easy.
Yeah.
When another guy standing across from you that is skilled is always dangerous.
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't. There was just things that I went back and I watched. Like, look, if you watch that fight, there was like 30, 40 seconds left in the round. There was no reason for me to do that spinning back fist. I was winning the round handily. I mean, he said, he legit, and during the show when we were filming his show, he's like, man, you don't get it. He's like, I couldn't walk for a couple of days because of those heel strikes to my calf or to my thigh. I was doing we were in the clinch and I was heel striking him. He's like, I couldn't walk for a couple of days, for almost a week. He's like, it just hurt so bad. And it was coming so easy to me. There was a moment there, right after I jumped guard on him and I turned him back, pressed his back to the fence. I see Matt Hughes, Jens Pulver, and Tim Sylvia sitting there, and I'm talking to them while I'm fighting him. And I'm like, I got this, guys. You guys like this? That I was like being a total smartass. I was winking at him, and it really did fuck me up. It was one of those, it was a lesson learned. I learned that lesson to make sure that, like, not to take any of these guys for granted. I don't know what I was thinking, man. It just wasn't. It really. I was telling Eves, I said it came down to the fact that I felt like it really should have been for the title, and I was like, I'm going to prove to the UFC that we can be exciting, that we're worth keeping around. I mean, they offered me a contract after this, but to fight at 170, and I said, have you seen those guys? Like, because everyone at the time, people didn't understand. At the time, Joe Rogan, you hear him on the on the actual broadcast. Josh Thompson's the biggest lightweight I've ever seen in my life, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm kind of big. Eves is about my size, and Eves is like, dude, I was looking across the cage from you, going, man, you're fucking enormous, And I look at these guys now, and I'm like, you guys are Islam Makhachev is so damn big. So damn big. I mean, he's like 6 foot, 5'11", 6 foot, just huge. Anyways,
yoked.
These guys, when I'm fighting him, right, and I mean picking him up, double leg, slamming him, I threw him with a head and arm, tried to do it again, and that's what led to the head kick knockout. Overall, the whole thing though really bugged me, the fact that it wasn't for the title. I actually thought about making like a cardboard cutout like belt and walking out with it. But then, Javier was like, don't do that. You're going to piss the UFC off. And they're the only show in town. And I was like, they hadn't announced they were going to get rid of the division yet. Yeah. But we were the only last two guys to really fight. I was like, I'm going to show them that, this should have been for the title. It just backfired. It really did, and then they got rid of the division and they offered me a contract at 170. And, I was just like, no way. Guys that did take the contract at 170, they fought. Let me just remind people. Rich Clemente. Guess who one of his fights was? Rumble Johnson. Yeah. No thanks, dude.
Can you imagine?
No
Go
thanks.
Back and you think about that, man. Poor Rich. Rich was what, 5'7", 5'8" at most.
Yeah.
Right, and he was 155er. Yeah. Just because that was the only weight class that didn't go below it. And it was like, oh my God, you poor bastard. You went up to 170 and fought Anthony Rumble Johnson.
Yes. And
who walked into the cage that night at 215 pounds.
And Anthony took that fight on like 7 days notice. Oh. Because I was the guy that got Anthony in. I found him hitting mitts in in some back alleyway and shoot box down in LA. Like it was a little, and I went down there for a nightclub opening for me. And I was there and I met him. I met up with him I went to shoot box and to get some training in. In between, before I had to go to the club for the club opening. And I met him hitting mitts. And I was like, hey, let me get your number. And I ended up hooking him up with, believe it or not, Ken Pavia. And
man.
I know,
you hated him.
Well, Bob didn't want.
Did you hate Anthony Rumble Johnson much?
Bob Cook didn't want to sign him. We had a bunch of 170 pounders.
You gave him to Ken Pavia.
He's the only guy that I knew.
Bury your head.
No. Ken actually got him on the Ultimate Fighter, but then Gabe Rudiger had ruined that with not making weight. And they're like, look, you may have to make weight every week. And they're like, we're not going to take a chance on you. And he's like, all right, whatever. Then like 2 weeks later, they called him and said, hey, do you want to fight Rich Clemente? We have a last minute replacement. He's like, all right. So he called me up. He said, should I take it? I'm like, yeah, get your foot in the door. Have a good performance. He took it on 10 days notice or something like that. It was just one of those things.
Yeah.
So that to me was probably my most embarrassing moment.
I can understand how you say that it should never be embarrassing. Just something that happened. You made a mistake that led to that, and it can happen. You were young, and that's what I was talking about when you look at that. When you are 22, 23 years of age, first off, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
There's no way anyone, this guy can't beat me. And then when you're in there and you're feeling it and you're able to move him around and stuff, it's like, please, hello. And it's never going to happen that you're going to get knocked out. And when you get hit in the neck like you did, it's called a brachial stun. And your brain is not, it's not fuzzed at all. It's just you can't control your body. Your nerves just shut off, and your ability to control it, and you fall down and you can't do anything.
Yeah, people need. I try to tell people. I try to tell people that when he kicked me, they'd zap me, right? And when I hit the ground, I was awake. I felt myself. I saw myself falling. When I hit the ground, I just couldn't move my arms. I kind of felt like a paraplegic. I was like, I couldn't move anything, and my heck was just looking. I was watching him run at me, and I saw like the punches just. Like, when you see in a movie how the punch just closes you, turns the lights out, like in a movie. That's exactly what I saw. I was just like, damn, this sucks. Then
there used to be a video out there, and I used to use it in training all the time. And it was in Houston, Texas. And there was training going on, and there was a trainer that was down on the street, and this taxi cab pulls into the middle of the training by mistake. And it just happens to be a guy who is with a lady, whatever they are together, but he's going to show that he's tough, and he starts getting all kind of mouthy with, this instructor who's down in the middle of the street, and the guy is getting pulled back by the girl, and finally, he kind of gets free of the girl and goes after her, and the guy, stands there, goes, boom, and he hits him with a brachial stun, just right to the side of the neck, and you see this guy going, whoop, and his legs are going in different directions, and he falls down, and then the taxi cab driver gets up and is trying to pick him up and drag him back to the taxi cab, and it's just nothing works. Yeah, it just shuts off.
When I say my most embarrassing moment, I wouldn't say so much as the knockout. It's more for me. A lot of what I talk about in terms of when people ask me like, what's your greatest achievement in fighting, I always say the Hermes Franca fight, because that was when I realized I was a real fighter. Because I won the first 2 rounds handily, got dropped in the third, and I always wanted to know if I was a quitter. I always wanted to know that, and that was a fight where I realized I wasn't a quitter. I was somebody that was like, nah, when the going gets tough, I'm going to keep going. Because in my mind, I was like, when I got rocked and got dropped, and he hit me, and he fucked me up for 2.5 minutes. He beat the shit out of me. And I there was moments there where I could have just tapped and gave up, or rolled over and gave my back, or had him, or just whatever. But I just kept going. And that to me was one of my greatest moments for me. What I mean by my most embarrassing moment, to me, I knew what I was doing in this situation. I was being a show off. And that to me was embarrassing. The fact that I did that to myself. He did the kick. I get it. Yeah. But to me, that I was trying to be more than
you put yourself in the position for that to happen.
Yeah. So to me, that was my most embarrassing moment for me. Yep. Next.
Well, John's great. John's
got it. My favorite fighter?
Yeah.
Don't have one. And I'm saying that out of respect, because I like so many guys, and I have so much respect for certain fighters. Guys like Georges St-Pierre. I admired the way he handled himself, the way he interacted with people, the way that he approached the fight, and always made it to where it was about the sport of MMA, which that was the big thing for me. I was always into the guys that carried themselves in a fashion that made the sport look good. The first time that I refereed Fedor Emelianenko, that was a special moment for me, because we all have, things that are our bucket list thing. That was a bucket list. And then I got to do it multiple times throughout my career, but it was the way that he carried himself, the way that he represented the sport. He was one of my favorites. It was always the guys that I thought, at least acted the way I expected a professional fighter to act and to represent the sport of MMA, no matter what promotion they were in.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that you brought up GSP first, that lets everyone know who your favorite fighter is. There was something that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
What is your take? Because I want to talk about this actually a lot in terms of the in-depthness of this. Patricio Pitbull has no chill. He's
fantastic.
He has no chill. His tweet that he posted about how proud he is of his son.
I'm so proud of you, my son.
My son. And then he posted a picture. He posted a picture of him carrying a baby with Michael Chandler's face on it. I was like, bro, you got no chill. This guy is. But okay, where does this whole conversation though? Because when Michael Chandler went to the UFC, Chandler's gonna get smoked. Then he knocks out Dan Hooker, and he's gonna get smoked. Where does that put? Like, if we were to like do our own rankings, which you and I have talked about making our own rankings, which we probably will here shortly.
We should.
And for all promotions, ONE FC, PFL, all that, because you got guys like Lance. You got Lance Palmer in there as well. He deserves to be in that honorable mention as well. You obviously got Eddie over in the air and Demetrius Johnson. I mean, how do you fucking not include him?
Oh, he's not in the top.
Yeah. So when you're having these conversations, where does Patricio fit into all this? At 155, I do not even include him. Do I think he can win a fight or two? Absolutely. But do I include him? Absolutely not. He's not a 55 pounder. I think he could potentially make 35 if he wanted to, if he just skipped a mill or two, Patricio. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. He just physically, I think, feels better at 145.
Yeah.
But I get styles make matchups, and we've talked about this. Like, with the fact that Chandler had success in his first fight, Patricio beating Chandler, where does Patricio fit into all this, John?
Well, as far as where does Patricio fit in as one of the best fighters in the world?
Yes.
And I'm going to say not in the 155-pound weight class.
No.
In the 145-pound weight class. He is absolutely in the top 5 of the 145-pound weight class. Now, I say the top 5 because you can take nothing away from Volkanovski.
Mm-hmm.
You can take nothing away from Max Holloway. I think Max Holloway, personally, in my opinion, and we talk about styles all the time, is the hardest fight that could be put in front of Patricio Pitbull. I think that is the guy that would give him the most trouble. Yeah. I do believe that, the fight between him and Volkanovski would be very similar in styles and everything. And I believe that he wins that fight.
Yeah.
And it's just based upon what they do, what they're good at, and the power that he possesses. Man, that's a good fight for him. Now, Brian Ortega would be another one you look at and I go, that's actually not a bad fight for him either. So you can fit him into the top, if you want to, give it the UFC and say that the UFC has got the number, one guy in Volkanovski. Okay, I'll accept it. I have no problem with that. You want to say they've got the number 2 guy, and we'll say, Holloway. Great. Number 3 guy in Ortega. Okay. Well, the number 4 and the number 5, they're definitely not in the UFC because it's going to be Pitbull at number 4 at least.
At least.
And then behind, at least. And I'm being kind here. And behind him is going to be a kid named AJ McKee.
Jesus, yeah.
Fits into the top 5.
Yeah. What's funny is if we were to sit here and do matchups, to me, AJ McKee, I think he beats guys like.
He's the biggest problem.
Yeah, he's the biggest problem. And we're going to see more of him. He's going to be a problem for Patricio, a huge problem.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how damn big he is. He's enormous.
At 145 pounds?
Yes, he's enormous.
Bigger than Brian Ortega, bigger than Max Holloway, bigger by far than Volkanovski, bigger than Patricio.
Yeah.
He's long, he's fast, he's athletic, he's strong, he's got it all.
Yeah. He really, I'm surprised. I know that he's catching on and people are finally giving him credit and noticing him, but damn. I mean, ESPN had him as the number one
under 24,
under 25
and under year-old MMA fighter out there right now. And you got to give ESPN credit for being honest about that and saying, hey, you can look at all these guys. This is the guy.
Yeah.
And There's no doubt about it.
I'm really intrigued by the fact that he's finally taking it so serious. I mean, I honestly, he went through his stint where he was out doing whatever it is he wanted to do, and his dad made him still fight when he wasn't in shape, and he had to get his shit together. And he pulled it together and had a couple. He didn't like the feeling of being tired and exhausted in the cage against somebody that he knows he could have beat easily had he just trained a little bit harder. You know, I think,
or trained at all.
Yeah, or training all that. Yeah, I'm okay with mixing it all in there, like you're saying. Like I would put Patricio ahead of Volkanovski. But here's the thing, though, is I don't know how I would put the Max and the Brian Ortega in there, because I do, like I said, stylistically, it's a problem. I think Max is a problem for Patricio. The length, the reach, the range, the output, those things. But
well, especially in the fact that if you're looking at Patricio's last, 5 fights, he doesn't do what Alexander did to Max as far as threatening the takedown.
Yeah.
He's turned into more of, I'm going to knock you out, and I'm going to make you fight the way I want to fight, and I'm going to put power on you, and I'm going to beat you down, and I'm going to make you suffer. And that's fine. He can do that. But again, you are taking an element of the sport and not threatening it when it is what can cause your opponent the most trouble in this fight, in that he has to deal with it by at least considering that you are thinking about doing it. So I need to be aware of it, which keeps my offensive output down. Yeah. And, if Patricio was going to fight Max Holloway, I would tell him, and you need to go watch Alexander Volkanovski in his first fight against Max Holloway. That's the way you need to fight if you want to beat this guy.
Yeah, people drastically underestimate Patricio's wrestling, and I can tell you from experience, because I've grappled with him, he is fucking really good on the ground.
Yeah.
He is really good. Have you ever guys tried moving one of those big cinder blocks, like a really, really big ones? They don't move really. Like training with him, he gets that butterfly guard, and his arm in guillotine is nasty, strong, and good. He gets on your neck, it's pretty much over. I mean, his wrestling's phenomenal. You can ask Henry Cejudo.
Look at who he trains with. Exactly.
Yeah, you can ask Henry Cejudo, and he showed a lot of his wrestling defense against Juan Archuleta, but he also took Juan down, picked him up on his shoulders and dropped him. I mean, he makes it look easy. His style has come a long way after working a lot with his wrestling with Henry, as well as the manager, Eric Alberson. He's come a long way. He's finally learned to relax in that cage. He feels like it's home. I mean, styles make matchups. I get it. And look, when you get into those top 3 guys, top 4 guys, they're all interchangeable. They really are in every weight class. I'm not just saying this because we're talking about Patricio and we're talking about AJ McKee, but they're all interchangeable. To me, Zabit and AJ McKee would be a fun fight. You know what I mean? Like, let's throw Zabit in there too.
Great fight. Either Zabit and AJ McKee, or Yair Rodriguez and AJ McKee.
Yeah.
Hello, that would be fun.
You know what I mean? And then the other fight, like for me, I'd love to see Korean Zombie and Patricio. Like knowing that Korean Zombie is going to stand in front of him and try to knock him out, and Patricio's going to stand in front of him and try to knock him out. You know what I mean? Like I'm into those fights, man. I mean, and I give the nod Patricio over Volkanovski. I don't know if I give the nod Patricio over Max. I don't know that. I don't know if I give the nod to Patricio over Brian Ortega either. Brian's come a long way. I do think that he beats him, but it's going to be a lot harder fight than people would think. Everyone's going to obviously lean towards the Max and Ortega mopping the floor with him, because that's what they do.
They're not going to mop the floor.
No one's going to mop the floor with him. No one. But I do think that give it a year or two, when AJ McKee gets into his prime, I think you're looking at a potential like John Jones style fighter,
or someone who's
superstar, and and somebody that just people can't touch him.
Come on. Be honest, Josh. You've been there when we do fighter interviews, and you know how I am with AJ, and I'm always pushing him towards certain directions and telling him, "Hey, because you can see he has that ability. He is that good, and he does have that John Jones caliber of being able to be one of the best at this sport in the world." Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, does he do the right things to put himself in a position to be that guy, or does he just think that it's always going to be easy and doesn't put in the work? If there's one thing that you can say for the most part now, John Jones puts in the work. There's a reason why he got where he got.
What I'm intrigued about with him is that, let's just say AJ does beat Patricio. He's already talked about the fact that, like, I'm not done here. I'm going right to 55. I mean, and you got to think in terms of his body frame, he will hold 55 very well.
Oh, yeah, and will fit into 55 very well, and will not be the smaller guy.
No, he will not
against maybe anyone except maybe Primus.
Yeah, Primus is enormous, though. I mean, not height-wise, he's not enormous, but just thickness and size-wise. Yeah, but here's the thing. Primus has a hard time with guys that are fast and elusive, and that's exactly what AJ is. He's there to be hit, and the wrestling, sure, he's got good wrestling, but AJ McKee's got good wrestling defense. You know, and he's super really good at stopping the takedowns, and just the speed factor will be huge. And on top of that, if you put him on the ground, he's dangerous. Yeah, he is.
Look at what happened with Darrion Caldwell, Darrion Caldwell is a dynamite athlete. He's a super wrestler, super athletic. Everyone knew, if you go back and you watch Darrion, when he wrestled in college, was super athletic for the first couple of periods.
Yes.
And then kind of died out.
Yeah, he did.
And hopefully he'd had enough points and he was going to be fine. But, you take a look at the submission that he put on Darrion, that comes from a guy that has practiced things, is relaxed, knows exactly where he's at. And here, let me make you put your head into this position. Now I've got you. Goodbye. And that's what he can do as long as he keeps his head in the right realm and moving forward. There's
just a lot of fights I would like to see, happen, just cross promotion wise.
Oh, yeah.
It sucks to see it, but I'd like to see it.
Well, you think about 145, bring Lance Palmer over into that mix. Lance. It would be fun.
Lance. It would be a really, really fun.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Next question. Let's do one or two more. You got time, John?
Yeah, of course. I'm sitting here in Pismo Beach, baby.
All right. This is going to be a wrap up one, but I'll do this one and I'll grab another one. Serge Kratos wants to know, how did you guys first meet up and start the podcast together? And I figure since we're 80,000 subscribers more since the last time we asked this question, we might as well tell everyone how you guys brought it together.
Oh, we're 80,000 subscribers more? Yeah. Wow. It's about that? Yeah. Oh, this is great. John, you tell the story. I've told it a couple times, I think, already. Why don't you tell it?
Well, I'll tell it from my side since that's the only side I really know. Well, I'm just being honest. I had a podcast with Sean Wheelock. And it was called Let's Get It On. And I had made a statement on it. It was Conor McGregor. And I had told a story about Lorenzo Fertitta and a conversation. Because long ago, I had a conversation with Lorenzo Fertitta when he first bought the UFC. And one of the things that he said to me was, John, I want to be the first promoter to pay an MMA fighter $1 million. And that was at UFC 30. Okay. And I was like, well, I said, I appreciate that. And I think that's fantastic. I will tell you, you're not going to be the first promoter. There have been guys at Rickson Gracie made more money than that when he fought in the very first Pride. And, just so you know, but I think that's fantastic. Well, now let's say 15 years later, I'm in the back of the MGM talking with Lorenzo Fertitta, and he gives me some information about Conor, about how much he was going to be getting paid, and that that was a problem, and he never thought that it would be a problem. I was going to pay the guy this much money, and we're going to have problems doing a fight. And I put that out on the podcast, so how much money it was. And the next thing I know is I got a call from Dana White saying, "What in the fuck are you doing?" I go, "What did I do?" Right? And he says, he goes, "Lorenzo talks to you because he knows that he can trust you, and now he can't trust you because you put that out to everyone. That's not for anyone to know." He goes, "It doesn't matter if the fans don't like us. Yeah. We don't want them to like us. You were not supposed to say that." And I said, "You know what? You're right. I made a mistake. I apologize, and I'll apologize to Lorenzo." And I said, "What do you need me to do?" He says, "I need you to stop the podcast." Oh. And so, and it was doing pretty well. And so I said, "All right, you got it." And I shut it down. And the people that ran it, but they were fucking going crazy. "You can't do this." And I said, I got to do it. I don't have a choice. this is what was asked of me, and I'm gonna follow that request. So I didn't have the podcast, and in fact, Ben Askren and Joe Warren, I got them to work with Sean Wheelock, and they kind of took it for a while. It didn't go too well, and then I came onto your Sammy and the Punk.
Mm-hmm.
When we were up in San Jose, and I had watched you before, and I'd watched your Punk's Opinion, and I always appreciated the way that you looked at fights, because it was the right way of looking at it. It was real. It wasn't a bunch of blown up bullshit that people were putting out that didn't have an idea about the fighting. And I thought we had a good time. And I had been asked to do several other podcasts and to join other people in their podcasts. It just never seemed like the right fit. Well, then we started working together, and it wasn't our work. It was our time off, because we ended up, we enjoyed each other's company as far as, having beers and sitting there and talking about fights, talking about prior fights, talking about fights that were coming up, talking about what guys had done and what we knew. And how many times did we we closed the bar down talking about stuff? And then, I moved to Tennessee, and all of a sudden I get a call from Josh saying, "Hey man, I want to do a podcast together. Would you think about doing that?" And I was like, it was the first time that I looked and I said, yeah, I would think about doing that. Yeah. And it's been one of the best decisions I made, because you've been fantastic.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it really did come down to that. I was like, look, I can continue to do, because I'd already kind of split ways with Sammy. He was newly married, he was talking about having a family, and there was other lying issues as well. But I love Sammy. Sam's a good guy. But it just really came down to the fact that I was like, I can continue to do Punk's Opinion on my own, or I said, I liked all of our conversations. Our conversations were, if that was like the biggest thing was, we'd go to breakfast, we'd talk fighting, nerd out. Like literally Miss McCarthy she'd get up and be like, okay, I'm gonna go to the room, you guys. I'll see you guys later. And we would sit there and stay and still eat or whatever, and she'd go off and do it. She, go to the room or go do something else, and then we'd come back and we'd have lunch, and she'd sit and join us again. And then, we'd get done with lunch and we'd keep talking. Okay, let's go get coffee. And we'd keep talking. And it's like, it was a continuous conversation all the way up into the fights. And then until the next time we saw each other, it was like more fights, more talk, more conversation, and it was good, because I wanted to bring somebody on that a lot of these other podcasts weren't doing. They have comedians, or a lot of people were trying to follow the Brendan Schaub and the fighter and the kid kind of format. And I didn't want that. I wanted it to be a combat sport, because I know we had talked about potentially talking about boxing and more, and obviously all the other promotions as well. But it was like, I wanted to make sure that it was just strictly stay in our lane. I don't want to talk. I know we have mentioned politics a little bit. But I don't want to talk politics. I don't want to talk, LA stuff, like Hollywood stuff. I don't want to talk that garbage either. I don't want to talk any of this other stuff. I really nerd out on the fact that we talk fighting, and I love boxing. I love watching the Glory fights. I love watching Bellator kickboxing, and I obviously love MMA. I've spent basically almost more than half my life doing it. And so I was like, you didn't have a podcast. We were working together. I felt like it was a good chemistry for us to develop an even better chemistry on the mic with each other when we were working together as well. I'm like, shit, we already do this. We're just not getting paid for it. So let's start trying to feel like we are getting paid to do it there for them, but let's do it outside, since we're already doing it. We're doing it at the bar all the time, or we're doing it at the restaurant, or we're doing it, getting coffee. I was like, let's try to see if we can turn this into money. And it's coming around. It's coming around. It's coming around. So, but that was kind of like, I agree. I'm glad. I'm thankful though. I'm thankful that you were interested in doing it, period. Cause it does take up time, and I mean, I don't want to, you are 70, 79 now. And so like, you're pretty much,
you can say what you want. I started the show off 58, baby. 116.
No idea what that means.
Episode 116.
Too big of numbers for me to count. So, I'm very grateful. Like you said, I've had nothing but fun doing the show, and I appreciate you, Miss McCarthy, as well.
Boss.
And having this Knucklehead podcast, Dave. It's been fun, man. It's been fun. All right, is that the last one?
Yeah, or if you want one more, we can do one more.
Last one.
Let's
All
go
right.
one more.
Felipe Patinaud, I probably butchered that, wants to know.
Patno.
Hi guys, do you think Khabib would be interested in a submission grappling match with GSP? Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. People
would
don't
do
realize
that.
how good his grappling is, and I don't know if they've rolled together and trained together, but I do know that they frequent the Renzo Gracie's Academy in New York quite a bit. Khabib's when he is in New York.
You're saying everything.
So I would think that they're very interested in potentially doing a grappling match against each other just for fun. I mean, it would be cool if they did it for like a charity or something like that. That'd be really cool as well. I think it'd be phenomenal. What I think would be phenomenal is that if you took what's the wrestling that they do in Madison Square Garden? Not Madison Square Garden, but they do it in
Beat
Times
the Streets.
Square. Beat the Streets.
Beat the Streets.
So if they did a Beat the Streets, but they did it for grappling, or they intermix Beat the Streets grappling and wrestling, like basically like one grappling match, one wrestling match, because I think that if you intertwine the two and you say like, hey, wrestlers, when you're done wrestling, obviously a lot of them already know that MMA is available in the sports there, but still kind of keep in the back burner. Like you got to learn jiu-jitsu to go along with your wrestling. The stand-up will come, but give it time, but I would like to see this a little bit of that crossover for the fans they're pretty much, I think a lot of the wrestling fans watch MMA already because of the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu aspect of it all. So it'd be really cool if they did like a Beat the Streets jiu-jitsu, mixed in with maybe some top level wrestling matches. That would be fun to me.
That'd be outstanding.
Good.
We're
All right.
good.
All right, guys.
Perfectly.
Go, guys. MyBookie.com or MyBookie.ag.
.ag.
Use the promo code weighing in. If you up to $1,000, if you use the promo code, that will give you 50% of your initial deposit, which is another $500 on there. You don't have to go up to $1,000. If you do 100, they give you another $50. So you have $150 in your account to go ahead and bet. Just a reminder, guys, just because all we do is talk MMA, they have betting odds on basketball. They got betting odds on football. You got the Super Bowl coming up. Use our promo code, double, but give 50% more on your initial deposit. I'm just telling you right now, if you're a bettor and you want to bet on the Super Bowl, I mean, you'd be smart to bet on the Chiefs because, the Chiefs are going to smash Tom Brady.
I knew you were going to say
They're going to
that.
smash Tom Brady.
No.
I'm a huge Tom Brady fan. If he was playing any other team, I'd be voting. I'd be rooting for him too. So
you got to be shaking a little bit in your boots there. I know you have been a long lifetime KC fan.
I have been.
You've got Patrick Mahomes, but you know that you're shaking a little bit that Tom Brady's the guy that's on the other sideline.
What scares me is Tampa Bay's defense is really good. What scares me is that we lost our right tackle Fisher, and so that scares me a little bit. When you're losing a Pro Bowler like that in terms of protecting your quarterback going into the Super Bowl, and Tampa's defense is really good, that scares me a little bit. But Mahomes is good on his feet. He's got a little turf toe going on, but I think a little bit of 2 weeks off, maybe a little cortisone injection, might get him through the game.
Now you're already pumping him with needles.
For sure. For the Super Bowl, yeah. Repeat. You get plenty of time to rest after, buddy. Look, he would be the youngest QB, I believe, to ever repeat. He's already been the youngest QB to win the Super Bowl. So he would be the youngest QB, obviously, to probably repeat. There's only been three other teams to do it. And I'm hoping for him. He's got a bright future. We all know that. I think everyone knows that as long as he can stay healthy. He's not taking, unnecessary concussions and damage trying to run the ball. So just take the Brady momentum. Just go down, bro. Just go down. Throw the ball away or go down. No reason to risk it. 10-year contract.
No reason.
$555 million. Insane.
It is not within his DNA.
I know.
To just fall down.
It's crazy how smart, like not fight IQ, but football IQ he has. And like he sees things that's just, he always keeps his eyes downfield. I'm a huge fan. I'm just so thankful. I was actually criticizing Andy Reid.
So thankful that they actually drafted him.
Well, they traded up. I was like, God, you guys we have Alex Smith right now. We've been in the playoffs 2 years before that.
You'd still be floundering if you were the coach.
Yeah, man, I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed if we didn't draft him because he'd be winning Super Bowl somewhere else right now. Yeah, Miami was going to take him, I believe. Or no, we got the pick from Buffalo. What do you think? We just beat Buffalo in the playoff last week. Buffalo gave us that pick, so Miami didn't pick him. So we got, that's crazy. That's insane. Yeah. And I know that if Miami didn't pick him, Belichick wanted him like two picks later. So Belichick would have had him to replace Brady. How fucking crazy would that have been? Oh shit. All right, guys. Well, hey, hopefully you guys go to prowrestlingtees.com/weighing in. Use the promo code podcast. You get another 20% off of that. And check out our plethora of shirts, which got all different colors. And yeah, I think that's about it, man. John, you got anything else to say?
The only thing I want to say on top of that whole thing is God bless Tom Brady for proving that it was a little bit more than just Bill Belichick.
Little jab there.
Makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. I'm sorry.
I like Bill.
I have no problem with him, but to sit there and tell me, oh, it's all in that coach. No, it was all in that quarterback. And you see the difference from one year to the next.
He literally said, okay, which one of y'all teams wants to go to the Super Bowl? Okay, you come with me. Yeah. That's what he did. He said, who wants to go to the Super Bowl? Tampa Bay's like, me? It was like, all right, let's go. That's insane. Awesome.
Pretty impressive.
It was what do you got? One last thing?
Last thing I want to say is to everyone out there, see ya.